Hello all, welcome to another Grim Dawn video by Spreadsheet Gaming. Today I'm going to jump into another fun build that I've been working on. For any of you that have never been here before, this area is called the Fields of Despair. It's in the Bastion of Chaos at the end of the game. I'm currently in on normal mode, and it's tough enough at that mode. I'm level 54. I came in here at 53. And today I'm going to be talking about this class, which is one that I had thought about for a long time ago and never really thought it'd be viable, and I ended up stumbling on it by accident, and it's really fun. Let me jump into how this works. If I could, I'd change this character's name to Juggernaut, because if I can put it this way, I notice with all characters of the game, it's more than just playing a character. It's really the psychology behind the character. There are great DPS builds out there, and there are builds that work for other people, and there are even builds that I've created for myself, but if I'm not in the mood to play them, I really can't play them very well. You just have to be in the right mood to play certain characters. And this character, like I said, I'd call Juggernaut because this is for the character you want to build that is not so intent on doing personal melee damage. Actually, if I can show you the damage total right now is only 1,301. I beat the game at a couple levels lower than this, never died once on the final boss, and I was actually pulling at that time barely 1,100 damage, which is really surprising, seeing how much damage can be dished out. I will say in advance that the only problem with this character right now tends to be a lot of straight up magical casters. I can survive, yes, for sure, especially because of my health pool, my ability to regenerate health very quickly, and some other skills. But I really don't get the full returns against magic casters. Now, the big thing about this class right now is Menhir's Bulwark. This, with a couple of bonus items, ends up bumping this up to from 12 to 14. And as you can see, it is an 89% total retaliation damage. When you get some really incredibly powerful melee bosses, there are a couple bosses in here that were dead within the space of 5 seconds time, and there was no way that I could do that sort of damage with their health pool. And yet they killed themselves off super fast. So against magical characters, the battle's just going to go a long time. You'll survive. It's not hard surviving. It'll just go a lot longer. Against full-out melee power casters, they'll beat themselves into oblivion. In your gear, if you want to run with this build, you're going to have a little bit of a difficult time maybe getting some of this gear. The rings, this kind of helps. It'd be nice to increase my damage, but I just really debating back and forth. I ended up just going with the health. These have great health. These actually probably aren't too hard to find. The Plague Mancer's Amulet, I've had a few of these things drop, so they shouldn't be too hard. The armor, this is a tough one. I don't know what its drop is at right now, but as you can see, this set is called the Perdition set. I guess they changed its name on release. It used to be called the Redemption set. It actually makes more sense that they call it Perdition, seeing that all it did was acid damage. It sounded like a name at complete odds with itself. Generally, Redemption isn't spitting out piles of acid and poison. At least you'd think. Anyway, so I ended up getting the Perdition set. Before the release of the game, I only was able to get about 3 pieces of this gear, and the drop rate was just, it was abysmal. I ended up having something like 6 sets of Perdition gloves, 4 or 5 sets of shoulder guards, and about 3 or 4 shields. It wasn't until the game was finally released that I ended up getting actually the chest guard. I had a couple helmets drop. But anyway, with this thing here, it's really, as you can see down there, the acid retaliation at 2 set, increasing the acid retaliation at 3 to 4, and then a 100 total retaliation damage, 100%, which really, if I can jump back here, goes excellently with Menhir's Bulwark. So that is just a huge amount of damage that it's returning, and ranged people that are hitting you, you'll notice that they are also taking a good amount of acid damage. I mean, sure, they're not flipping over and going up all fours within the space of 3 seconds, but still, when you're being attacked on all sides by melee, it's nice to know that they are definitely taking damage. Now, how you want to do the rest of this is really up to you. As you'll notice down here, I really went heavy on the buffs. This is one of the last buffs I actually started adding. This isn't important for the beginning. This just really helped with the total damage that I do. And I'm hoping that also stacks on top of the retaliation damage. This wasn't hard to get, the poison aura. This was attached as a buff to my weapon. And of course there is the Menahur's Bulwark. So those are the ones that you can get here. So this buff here, and basically this buff here. The rest is just really, really nice to have. And it helps you with health regeneration against those bosses and things like that. Demolitionist, I may end up re-rolling another character in the future. I'm still really debating whether I made a big mistake with this. If I should have gone occultist, because it would have really enhanced my acid damage. At the same time, this skill here, Vindictive Flame, is one of the meanest retaliation buffs there is in the game. So when you end up retaliating with this damage, not only are you dealing massive damage through somebody hitting you, but you're also doing a great deal of retaliation damage. I would dare say 90% of the damage this character does on a continual basis is straight up retaliation and reflection damage. And it just is incredible. So some of you are probably going to look at this and say, oh, I'd never do that. This was kind of ridiculous to do. And you'd probably be right. This was a really rough draft, really rough selection of choices, and it's not really that finely tweaked. You could probably run with this and make it even more powerful than I have. If I could step over here to the devotion in case anybody's interested. I'm flipping around here, sorry about that. I definitely added things like Scorpion Sting. This increases acid damage. Guardian's Gaze. This increases poison and adds chaos damage as well. I really worked hard to get this one, or get up to this one, and this is Acid Spray with the Manticore. A lot of acid damage. Over here, you can get this pretty much early on, your Ghoulish Hunger. This gives you Life Leech, adds to the amount of health you receive. And now I'm on down to this one here, which is Fetid Pool, more poison damage, and surprisingly on this devotion here, it's not the big one at the top that is really the nice perk. It's the lower ones that really increase your poison damage there. Look at this 1062 Vitality Decay over 5 seconds. There's more retaliation damage. And if you move up here, another 1278 Decay retaliation damage. So you just want to build that retaliation damage up so that when somebody hits you, they beat themselves into oblivion. I'm really aiming for this here. At the very end, it's going to take me a while to get there with 3,570 poison damage over 5 seconds. Just a really brutal amount of damage. So I'm enjoying this, and it's not probably going to happen in here, and I'm going to run along and play now and see if I can get attacked by anybody. I've cleared out most of this level, but I'm going to run along and show you what it can do. And I'm glad to show you in this level because this is definitely a harder hitting level for sure. So let's get over here, and don't care about him. Don't care about them. Really don't care. As you can see, that guy though flew up in the air, but he was a weenie. What can we say? Anyway, moving along down here, let's see if we can drop kick someone through the wall. Alright, we have some promise coming through here. Here we go. There you go. You can just see him flying into the air. Here's some big guys. I activated my little buff, and I'm not even going to hit anybody right now. And you can see how much damage it's hitting them for. I'm standing in the fire, which is why I'm taking my major amount of damage. And anyway, so I would go on further here, but I don't want to just bore you as I wander around this level trying to find another person to kill. Anyway, I take it to the end. I've got to figure out how to get through the door. This is a new level for me. It's my first run through, but suffice it to say, it's a good enough build that I am not having any significant amount of difficulty, any significant difficulty with this level. I mean, I keep my eyes on my health bar, and I don't run myself to death here, take any undue chances, but it really, really is quite an easy run. I was able to go into elite mode and surprisingly survive quite well. I mean, they certainly beat you for sure and give you a good work over. But at least I was able to see. Here you can see that I still use somewhat. I use my melee damage, and it does help somewhat kind of put some added damage on those casters, and that's where you're really going to use melee damage. If I could advise one last thing here for anybody, don't be hasty to throw out your green and your yellow items. I actually dropped a high level blue item for this yellow item that dropped. This fire damage increases my retaliation, and of course great 22% poison damage in addition. This dropped a while ago, chaos and poison damage, and this one dropped not too long ago, and it's 84 acid damage and 30 poison damage on this thing. I certainly sacrificed melee damage. Your damage per second dropped for sure, your DPS, but my other damage significantly went up. Anyway, I'll talk about numbers in another video and kind of the trap that you can get into. But for now, I hope you enjoyed it. If you appreciated the video, if you try this, well, if you appreciated the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or ideas, please feel free to put them down below. And if you want to run with this video and see what you can make on your own, I'd love to have your opinions as well. Alright, this is another Grim Dawn video with Spreadsheet Gaming. Have a good one.